There's power in taking a photograph. There's power in being an artist.
It's the Phoenix Film Revival Podcast.
Alrighty, welcome to the Phoenix Film Revival Podcast. I am your host, Daniel Iannacone, and today I have with me Stacy Iannacone.
Hello, hello.
And Alex Miller.
Yes.
Do you like to go by Alex or Alexander?
It's kind of a toss-up. Preferably Alexander, but it always gets shortened, so I don't really have.
You've given in.
Yeah, I've given in. Yeah.
Well, I will call you Alexander. I'm big on calling people the name that they like to be called.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Alexander, for joining us on our podcast today. I've followed you for a little while now on Instagram, and I figured, you know what, I'm going to reach out to you and have you on the podcast. You definitely are an interesting guy. Shoot some film and are involved in the video movie, I guess, genre industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I figured I'd have you give us some information on that. But yeah.
yeah, and this is Alexander's first podcast, which is awesome.
Technically, I think it's the second, but the first was like a radio show, so it was like live and then never put online.
Oh, okay.
Boo.
So
Yeah, it was like an internet
just
streaming thing.
A
and-
brief thing.
Yeah, I was like, capitalize on the podcast. I don't know why they didn't.
Bummer. Yeah. We've had a previous podcast where the recorder wasn't working properly and the batteries died.
we had an entire podcast for about an hour and a half and just had to scrap it.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Our second try was better though, so it was okay.
Yep. But yeah. So film wise, what sort of I guess you're a little bit of backstory on you. How long have you been shooting film?
So I think I got back into shooting film in like 2017, probably late 2017, I think.
Okay.
Early 2018. And I got into that through shooting medium format. So I got a 645, a Mamiya 645.
Nice.
A good friend of mine, Dale Cook, had one from Death West Film Company. I liked what he was shooting, and I was like, I want one. I had shot 35 in high school photography, but at that time that was kind of in the beginning of all like the digital takeover to some extent. And I had owned a digital camera, so I shot that way more than film just because it was free.
Yeah.
And then kind of, I feel like I hit some type of resurgency wave around 2017, I think, like seeing people post film stuff to Instagram and just kind of being interested in taking a step back in my photography and like slowing down and quite honestly falling back in love with stills as a format. Because prior to that, I kind of given up on shooting stills for years. Like it hadn't been probably 6 or so years since I'd shot like single frames, because I just was so overwhelmed with how much like technology required to make images look how I expected them to. So I was used to shooting, I would shoot, I had like a Canon 7D that I had bought for mostly video stuff at the time when I was in school, when I was in film school, and doing stills on that, it just has, like 15 frames a second or something like that, crazy burst mode. And then of course you're not going to be frugal with that. You're just rapid fire. Every shot's 10 shots, every frame's 12 frames, so by the time you're done with the day and you're looking at like, half a card's worth of space and thousands of images, you're like, I don't even want to look at these. True. I don't want to sift through and figure out which one is which. And then of course, then you got to go and put it through Lightroom or Photoshop or whatever it is to make them have any sort of color that doesn't look completely awful.
Right.
And I've just kind of gave up on the format and just kind of stuck to, I don't know, put my head down and just try to focus on the career type thing, like shooting, production type stuff, like shooting motion. So Then yeah, getting back into stills through 35 and 120 and shooting exclusively film until I had the camera that I shoot on right now. That was kind of the key that changed a lot, and that I think it helped me tremendously in all the other types of work that I do, because I started shooting a lot more black and white, and I started seeing the world with contrast in mind, as opposed to all the other things that I was prioritizing at the time, which was often like focus and, things that I thought required, that I thought were the more of a priority than just literally thinking about where's the shadow and where's the shape and where's something in the image that, is contrasting. And that's now to the point where I shoot almost everything with black and white in mind. At least when I'm shooting digitally, anything, I view most of everything with a monochromatic LUT just to see what I see and not have to, kind of filter out color. And because, when you're shooting anything like what I do, I guess backstory is I'm a cinematographer, so I shoot mostly motion for a living. So all of my cameras, I preload some sort of my monitors. I have like a monochromatic setting for, just to see what I see, because the longer you're in an environment, the more your eyes lie to you. And color is one of the first things that just goes out the window with the way that your eyes adjust to the light coming through the window versus the light that's illuminating the set versus the whatever. And all those things are hard to, like, you start getting, becomes overwhelming at some point to like see a color image and then think, this is like, it doesn't look right. And then you start tweaking with your lights. And by the time you're done with the job, like the first shot looked fine, the last shots look different.
Right.
And you're like, what's wrong? Why did it's because my eyes were lying to me the whole time I'm making this thing. And I'm now adding more, I'm go from one scene to the next and I'm adding a bunch more warmth into whatever, because I'm now trying to make up for that in my head, and like on paper it's all equal. And I don't know, shooting with a black and white LUT or a black and white viewfinder has been, kind of a game changer for me, and just trying to, see contrast in a scene, especially with like, you can see like different tonal qualities with like color, where you see somebody wearing like green and then the same, different shades of that green or whatever will have like, just different tonal quality that it's hard to pin down when it's in color. But when you put it, flip in black and white, it's like, that shirt's, 2 stops brighter than the other shirt, right, because it's, just a totally different color.
Yeah. Getting that color dialed in is definitely a challenge. Yeah. I can imagine. And
that's the thing that I'm admittedly the worst at now, is still like the finishing process of all the work. Is everyone knows this, like anything you view your work on is different.
Right.
You print something, it doesn't have the rear illumination. You see it on one screen, it has a different gamma curve. Like all these things just have, infinite variables. And it to me is like an artist or whatever, quote unquote artist, like it's just hard to kind of like iron out those technical things every single time.
True.
It's just, I just want to shoot. And so I've been shooting, when I shoot digitally, I shoot almost exclusively in black and white still. I bake in my JPEG with a black and white, whatever creative profile on the camera.
Yeah.
And then RAWs just stay at what they are. And those typically just get cataloged in some terrible whatever.
Yeah. Just throw it on hard drive.
I just put it. Yeah, I put it on. It's always like some folder somewhere, and
yeah,
I'll see him one day.
Organizing all that stuff is a challenge, but that's awesome. As far as film wise, what is there a particular stock that you like to shoot?
I like to shoot HP5 a lot, just because I've always had kind of a plentiful amount of it. I kind of made a habit to buy it by the brick, just when I have whatever $38 or whatever it costs to buy like
A brick of it. Yeah.
a brick of it that I just did.
Yeah.
Color, I don't know. I haven't been shooting film for I think
Oh, wow.
the last year or two because of just I don't know accessibility to it.
Yeah.
I kind of feel what I have in my freezer or in my fridge and my freezer is just kind of feels like I don't want to have to rebuy this stuff.
Right.
And that I hate that feeling because I want to be shooting and
Yeah.
I don't know. I also now I have this Sony that I've been enjoying shooting. It's small rangefinder. I don't use the screen. I'm trying to treat it like that. I don't know. I'm trying to like hold my handcuff to whatever that idea of not chimping over the screen, not reviewing shots, not trying to treat it like film, but it's still like I do miss like actually I don't know. I also have like 8 rolls in my fridge I have to still send out to. So
Yeah. I know that feel.
There's just
I've got stacks of film to scan.
yeah, it's just it's yeah, and no one's paying me to do it, so it's like that's also the other part of it. It's like
That makes sense.
prioritizing some sort of whatever work-life balance is also kind of a challenge too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I gravitate towards I don't know, street photography, candid type stuff, just nothing posed, nothing. I don't know. It's got to be just there and in front of me, and it has to work. And I don't really have. I get asked that a lot by a lot of people, like what type of photography I shoot. And I don't really have an answer. I haven't really had one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard one for anybody, even if they're like on one thing. There's just so many pieces of it. It's like, well, what's that question mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to really get the.
I feel very much the same way with my work. Sometimes I'll go do street photography and I'll just not be interested.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like to shoot portraits, but it's mentally it's like, okay, well, I've got to set up and I've got to do all that sort of stuff. Get it all dialed in. It's got to be perfect. But I'll be in that mindset. But a lot of the time, I just don't want to. It's got to be just perfect for me in order to take a picture. So I get that feel.
Yeah. I definitely, when I was starting out, was more interested in portraits. It was like, how do I take pictures of, I don't know, the pictures that I see, like how do I recreate a lot of that stuff? But now I don't really want to talk to anybody while I take pictures. So that seems like probably a pretty big requirement to shoot with other, talent or anything like that. I kind of just want to, walk around a city with my camera and find interesting things to see and interesting people. And I don't know, there's also a hard part about that too, which is just this like feeling of being intrusive or the feeling, the thing that I've been kind of like obsessing over lately has been just the idea that once the camera comes out, everything is different.
Right.
It doesn't matter where it is, it's different. If it's on the table, even that's having a small point and shoot film camera at a party, at a place where your friends are, things like that, and being able to pull it out, take that image as fast as you can before everything changes, and then put it away. That is so valuable to me that it's impossible to replicate digitally. I've tried. I have so many half shots where the camera wasn't completely turned back on and the half it's in focus, like it just wasn't ready.
Right.
And that split second that it takes for the thing to wake up and be ready for you to shoot the shot, it's gone. Right. And then everyone sees you and then they start posing. And you're like,
the pose. Yeah.
You're like, great. I would all my friends know this about me. I'll literally just put the camera down and be like, it's gone.
Yeah.
You ruined it.
It's gone. It was a moment. And I missed it because it wasn't on. So it's kind of a testament to my favorite camera. I guess it's hard to say one of my favorite cameras. Probably the camera I've shot the most. I've put more film through it. I actually got from a yard sale that you guys put on. I found the photos of it. Yeah, I don't remember when this was. I found the photos from 2018, I think.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, it was like in a on a table, and the table has like $5 each, and there's just like 30 cameras, and I can see mine right there in the middle of it. It's I don't even know what.
It's a little point and shoot.
Yeah, it's a Canon Snappy AF is what it's called, which is hilarious. Everyone
yes.
loves that.
Snappy's a good name.
Yeah, especially because it's like in
Autofocus? No, that's not what that means.
no, it's in big red font AF. It's
Yeah.
Snappy AF in like a cool serif font. And it's a workhorse. I think I've had a lot of them. I buy them as many as I can. I mean, hopefully nobody goes and makes them expensive on eBay
Yeah, don't do that.
soon. But when I was buying them, they were $8 to $10 on eBay, and now they're 20-ish, I think, if you find a good one. But I have literally like a drawer of parts of them because I've dropped them, broken them, kind of cobbled them back together. I know how they come apart. I know how to put them back together. I have all the hacks. I know it's just,
Heck yeah.
I love that thing so much. But that's the perfect, I can't emphasize enough. It's so fast to shoot that thing. You'll always get a good shot.
Awesome.
You can pull it out of your pocket and literally without even like moving a beat, just whip it out and take a shot, and it will flash the flash, and whatever is in that flash, it's on your negative, and it's great.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's so many different point and shoots out there. It's
Yeah, they really run from like crap to like amazing and everywhere in between. There's just so many of them. They're getting harder to find because everyone started collecting them like crazy and then upselling them. But I feel like that market's kind of coming down again. I film prices being what they are and processing and things like that. So it's finally leveling back out, I think.
yeah, the big trend I feel is changing, and we're seeing that drop down a bit. But
From your guys' perspective, what's the bubble? Like, what's the? I know my X-Pan was a bubble. I had one that I bought when it was, I thought the highest, I thought I got a good deal on it, and then it just got inflated to where I was like, oh, I should just sell this thing and make twice my money. And then of course a year later I bought another one because it had went down.
it's hard to say what's the bubble right now. I know medium format's really popular. Hard to say.
It is, yeah. It's kind of on the market. And I think the bubble's hit, but you still have
everything's
people
kinda
that are
come
still trying to get as much money as they can out of these things. People are still like, hoarding them from like the Goodwills and things like that. And then, there's always the people that find out about this stuff secondhand. Like we know that film cameras have gone up in price by quite a bit the last few years, but there's a lot of people that are just now trying to like market off that. So you still have this weird inflated market, I think, for it, even though there's not necessarily the people buying the stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think the market's shifting, one with, the cost of processing and the cost of film, and a lot of people that shoot, I think, on a lot of the point and shoots don't err toward black and white, and they don't err toward printing in a dark room either. They're looking for straight up just color, and a lot of those folks I think have switched over to these old digitals. So like the old 3-4 megapixel digital cameras are becoming kind of the thing now. So now if you look at that market, it's become
The
crazy.
small, like the Sony Cybershots or whatever like that. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So those are starting to now kind of, I think they're taking over a little bit.
I've seen a thing I guess on YouTube more than once where people are trying to find like that Goldilocks Kodak CCD chip thing. There's like it was basically this point in technology before CMOS sensors became the commonplace, where Kodak I guess they're claimed to have like dialed it in, and then the CMOS sensor became kind of the standard, and then that went away, and we digitally like started over from like the color science level. So there's people looking for like this like 2003 to 2004 ish Kodak CMOS or CCD. It's a digital CCD CMOS, or not, I keep saying CMOS, digital CCD thing by Kodak, and there's a couple different cameras that made them. They're all different it's the same sensor, I guess, in different series of cameras. Most of them are APS-C or smaller, like 1/3 or whatever they are. But that's like a thing I've seen on YouTube, like the new digital film, whatever they say. It's And so I'm curious
The
to
new
see.
trend.
Yeah, the new trend is
The
like
trends,
you're
yeah.
getting film like shots from this old digital camera or whatever. And
Which is weird because it's people that have
yeah.
never really seen that film's actually supposed to be really clean. And
Yeah,
like
exactly.
This weird
It-
understanding of like thinking.
just knowing that
Yeah.
like a camera can make good color out of the box, sure.
Yeah.
But it's like anything. It's all about like range and what you can do in post.
Yeah.
In digital, at least.
That's true.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who shoot digital and they'll purposely underexpose it in order to with the dynamic range that a lot of digital cameras have nowadays, you can actually get a lot of detail out of your shadows and you're preserving your highlights. So you're actually getting a really decently balanced image where it's actually backwards with film.
Yeah, that's
You wanna
exactly.
Overexpose rather than underexpose because you can redeem your highlights a little bit.
Yeah, and that's common too, and that's exactly how it works. In motion as well, we're always trying to like retain highlights, so we're always trying to lift either the shadow detail through lighting or printing, what I like to call printing down, but it's just the idea of like you're shooting for a stop under what you expect to see, and then you're gonna just like squeeze that out of your in your post or whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing that I totally lost my train of thought on that.
No, it's okay. Are you originally from Arizona?
Yeah, born and raised.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Same here.
Yeah, not a lot of us.
There's
No.
not. Yeah. Every time I'm not. I've been here for 7 years, but every time
Yeah.
I like, you ask around, I'm like, it's rare. I'm like, oh, wow.
What part of town were you in?
I grew up until I was like 13, kind of by Arrowhead area, like Peoria,
Oh, okay.
and then we moved to up by Lake Pleasant, so kind of out. At the time, it was like out in the sticks.
It's slowly absorbing into a suburb.
Yeah, now it's just like on the fringe of town. But still, it was a good place to grow up because it's just barren desert. We had dirt bikes and
I can
did the
imagine.
thing.
Yeah,
it
that's
was-
fun for kids.
Yeah, it's fun till it's not. It's until your closest friend is like an hour's walk.
Ugh.
Yeah. I get that. I grew up in the boonies of
In the
Pennsylvania.
summertime,
yeah.
you're like, well, I guess I just don't have friends because I don't have a car because I'm 14.
I'm just going to be out here.
Yeah.
So motion picture, it's a big thing I wanted to chat with you about. I've always been interested in it. And for me in high school, I actually started in motion picture rather than just straight photography. And was involved with a media communications class. And so we had to put on the news show that went out to the school every morning. And that was really fun. And then I moved into music and still photography. So I've always had this appreciation for motion picture, and I don't know. I just enjoy motion picture, especially with film. So what's it like being? I guess you're a director of photography now, but you were grip. Or
Yes.
Yeah, maybe explain like how that all started and how you got into
sure.
that, I guess.
So the director of photography, the cinematographer, this is basically the same description of a job title. I think there's like the difference of where you're from, and that's all whatever. But so my background that's what I wanted to do. That's what I still want to do. It does still feel like a lofty aspiration just because I haven't, shot the things I wanted to shoot still. So, that was always the goal, or at least that was where I was directed to the goal. I started out doing video stuff when I was, in, I guess, high school, shooting skateboarding with friends, and then that slowly turned into my friends stopped skateboarding, and then I have all these cameras and fisheye lenses and stuff that is used to make videos, and so we just started making like prank videos and just goofing around like in like media class and stuff like that. And then that kind of shifted my interest to like, okay, I need to find more people that want to do this stuff because this is what I want to do. And at the time I had friends that wanted to skateboard and I'd film them skateboarding. And then when they stopped wanting to do that, it was just like, well, I don't want to like film you guys like smoking weed and drinking. Like that's not interesting to anybody. So then like enrolling in film school and like meeting basically all my friends and colleagues now at the time, and just kind of trying to build that community and just literally figure out like why is this so hard? Because that's, I think, the biggest undertaking with like the production world is like it's so challenging to do that it just seems like an unobtainable thing to do. And it's gotten easier. I think I think while I've gotten better, technology's also helped pull the slack between what you can do and what you couldn't do. When I was starting out, especially, like, cameras have gotten way more affordable. The images you can make from the cheapest good camera are light years ahead of what the most expensive digital cameras were doing then.
Oh, absolutely.
And we shot film when I was in film school. We shot actual film, which is kind of a huge deal to me, I think, like just having a fundamental like understanding of the actual process of, you need all the steps, like those steps are all involved. Like you need to take your time and you need to light a scene. You need to like plan it out. You can't just willy-nilly show up and think that things are going to work. And I think that like regiment or whatever is kind of, I don't know, I'm proud to have learned it. It's like a thing that I'm glad that I'm glad I know what all the things I need to do. It's like, I don't know.
It's a lot of different things that you would have to experience and learn over time, rather than just, jump into it and be like, okay. Yeah.
How long have you been doing this?
I don't even know what that answer is. I started the first like film thing I did was in film school. I started that in 2010. So however many, 13 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so I started with the aspirations of shooting, and everyone tells you when you start out, like, I think I went to film school wanting to direct, but I think it was just the vague understanding of what that job even entails. And I think this was before YouTube University, before anybody really could tell me. I don't know. I guess I could have looked it up, but just the idea of being naive and showing up being like, I like making videos. I've made all these skate videos. I kind of know what I'm doing. I think like I kind of have an idea of like how to edit. I kind of could do everything, but the things I didn't know anything about were lighting at all, because it's just so different from photography, which is the only lighting background I'd ever really had experience with, was like using Alien Bees in film or in high school or whatever, and just taking pictures in a little studio in my high school. And so I was gravitated to that because I was like, I need to learn how to do that. Like, I need to learn how to like light scenes, because that's the biggest, for me at the time, it was like the biggest defining quality of what made something look good.
Oh, absolutely.
You're like, you point, I don't even know what camera. 5Ds were just, the 5D Mark II had kind of, I think, just came out around that same time. So I was starting film school. So that was like, rich kids I knew had them, and it was like, well, you have to light this or else it'll look terrible.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I learned pretty diligently like how to light stuff and just expose things and soften the light and shape the light and directionality, and then all the philosophy around all that stuff kind of came later. But with that, there was kind of a point where I had some, I don't know, I didn't have money left over, but I knew I needed to buy something. I think I don't really remember the reasoning, but I was like, I'm going to buy some lighting stands and some lights, because all my friends had bought cameras. Like everyone I was friends with had bought the 5D or the 7D or the whatever it was. And whatever I think Blackmagics might have been around a little later, a couple years later.
Did you ever shoot on the Canon XL1?
XL1, no.
I
We
think that predates.
we
the
didn't.
Ken.
Yeah, I know what an XL1 is. I wanted an XL1 when I was like before that.
Yeah.
The mini DV days, like it was.
That's what we had in high school. And I was like, wow,
Nice.
these things are cool. I saw one at the
They're red.
antique store
I
now. I'm
remember
like,
them.
"What?"
Yeah, it was like red and white. They like had a strange shape. Just like
Yeah.
they don't make cameras like that anymore.
No, they don't.
For me, it was always like the VX was always, you know, because the skateboarding, it was like
Yeah.
it was the VX or either the 1000 or the 2000 or something like that. And I never had anything that good. I always had like I don't know, just a whatever,
Whatever it was.
whatever a 3-chip something. At the time, it was good enough. And then getting into like HD and then now it's like 4K stuff and.
Yeah. So you went in and you bought lights, you were saying?
Yeah, so I started out. I had, the first thing I ever bought was C stands. I just knew I needed some lighting stands. So I figured I'd get the most universal one, which is like you can hold flags, you can hold whatever. You can also hold smaller lights. And then I bought a bunch of par cans from like a yard sale. And that was all kind of around the same time that a bunch of friends of mine were trying to make this short film, and the school wasn't really like involved. They're adamantly against this project. I don't really know why. There was some politics involved that I wasn't privy to. They didn't want us to make this movie. I don't know. I might have pissed somebody off.
What was your movie about? What was the?
It was like a gangster movie, you know. It's like what do 19-year-olds want to make a movie about? We want to make like a bad Martin Scorsese film that has like a bad narrative. You know, it was okay. It's still looking back on it, I'm proud of it because it's just like we just did it. We just
That's awesome.
didn't know what we didn't know, and we went and made it. And so of course none of us pay. You know, it was all free labor. It's like it was cheap. We made it for a couple $100. Like it feels like it was. It feels like it was nothing now. It's like impossible to make something like that nowadays. It feels like to me.
Yeah.
And so I started buying lighting equipment because of this project. I knew this movie we were going to make it somehow, and the school didn't want to like rent us the gear that we're like. So we're in my mind, I'm entitled to this equipment.
Right.
I pay the course fees. I'm enrolled. I should be allowed to take this stuff out and shoot whatever I want to shoot. But I don't know. There's some politics. I can't remember what it was involved. So long story short, they were basically like, we're not going to let you do that. So I started buying gear. I just started, and I knew I could beg, borrow, and steal some lenses and lights or lenses and cameras, but I didn't know anyone that had lights. And then, long story short, one thing turned to another, and now I'm like renting my stands and my lights to friends and here and there, and that just kind of spiraled into like, well, I should buy this because it's a little better. And any amount of extra money I had, I just bought more gear, and I did that till this morning.
Yeah.
So
I see your post with walkie talkies, and there's like a case of like 30 of them, and I'm like, wow, that'd be cool to talk to that many people on walkie talkies. Like, I wish I knew that many people to talk to. But I'm like, oh, you need it for the productions that you do.
Yeah.
So
when there's that many people, you got everyone's got to talk to each other. Every department.
What kind of productions have you done? Like, what kind of projects have you worked on?
So I kind of started like doing the independent gaffer type of role because it was like I knew enough because of where I felt when I was in school, my blind sides were, I was like, I don't really know lighting. So I kind of obsessed over that. And then it kind of became a thing where like, oh, you're the guy now. You're the guy that does the lighting. I was like, okay. And of course I had friends that were also good DPs and I'm still shooting and stuff. So I was gaffing for them too. And then we're all kind of learning together. So they gaff for me and vice versa. And so it became a thing where I was like, I'm gaffing, which is the responsibility of the entire lighting department and kind of deciding all the fixtures and those things like that with the cinematographer and placement and all the things that you have to know. So that experience kind of pushed me into like, well, I'm just going to just do this until I feel, I don't know, like I know what I'm doing.
yeah,
Because somebody's letting me do this. No one asked if I knew what I was doing. I just started having gear and started working and then dropped out of school or stopped going to school. just to keep working on stuff. And then that turned into buying a box truck and then putting all the gear in the box truck and kind of starting my business and stuff. And then ran every type of job I've worked on. I think if it's been in Phoenix, I've at least probably worked on some version of that thing. Every movie that we've had since I've been around maybe not every movie, but every big thing I've kind of been involved in some aspects.
Yeah, you did some stuff for the Suns not too long ago.
Yeah, I shot a thing for the Suns in, I don't even know what year that was. 2019, I think. 2019 season.
Yeah.
Maybe 2018, I can't remember. But that was for their in-game intro. So when the players come out, they have like the thing on the Jumbotron that has them doing their tricks and stuff, and they're like on a cool backdrop. I did one of those for them.
That's cool.
I shot a thing with Devin Booker for his, like a headphone company that sponsors him like a year ago or so. I don't know. I don't, it's weird because like there's so much industry here, but it's so niche and like it feels like magic when you get a call from somebody that's just like, we're going to do this thing and we want you to be there. And I'm like, I don't know why. That's weird. Like, so those types of moments happen, enough at least to keep me going. But, like the big ones are always seem like those. I've crewed on a bunch of random big ones, like, I don't know, like casino commercials and stuff. Like the stuff that is the big jobs in town are the ones that are like, there's a lot of people here because there's just lots of moving parts and everyone is on set. And and usually when it's that, I'm like lower on the totem pole. I'm somewhere in the lighting department doing something. And with like my company and stuff, I guess fortunately I probably swung outside of my batting zone or whatever that phrase would be. I've done bigger jobs than I probably should have when I was especially starting out. But now that I'm no longer working in the lighting department as often, I still will once in a while, but as far as that, the jobs have gotten smaller just because now I'm moving to a position that is like more sought after. So I don't know, just more competition.
Yeah.
But it's weird because I don't really consider things like that competition because, like, I don't know, I can't. Two people are different. Like everyone's like aesthetic taste is different. I think people are just for the right job or not.
Yeah, I think it's in your experience, you probably were looked at as being a grip as someone, or not a grip, but a gaffer, somebody with a technical ability. And as a director of photography, I guess would that be more creative in that position?
Yeah, so that's the thing is like the director of photography is basically the technical translator. That's the only description I could think of that actually makes sense. It's like the director or the creative director or even sometimes the producer or just the job itself will tell you what you have to do. And so those people don't need to know what cameras and gear, like they don't need to know the stuff that makes the thing happen. They just need to know that it's going to happen and that it's going to live up to their expectation, which is like usually references from a movie or a commercial or something, some type of visual reference where like, we kind of want it to look like this. And so the DP's job is to translate that and turn that into gear and people and basically be the head of the ship. Like I have to kind of become like a team leader and go, okay, well, I'm going to hire this gaffer. I'm gonna hire this key grip. I'm gonna hire this first AC. And then usually usually I know who they are because I've just been working with the same people kind of through gaffing and stuff like that. It was like, well, these are the people that I know me and they know my sensibilities. So that's who I usually would have gaff for me or key grip for me or whatever. And then whoever they bring, I kind of trust them. So like those department heads are and as well as our department, those are the department heads that I'm kind of that I talk to the most. And it's like, okay, we're going to do a jib shot. So we got to make sure we have a jib. We are going to do this shot. We have to make sure. So it's up to me to kind of run through in a scout or with a director the idea of what they're trying to do and then turn that into like things and physical objects that have to be there. And then on the day when we show up and it's time to work, it start the day with, okay, I kind of have to plan. I have to often plan like what shots need to get done first, because things, I'm the only one that knows in my head. Sometimes the assistant director who's generally in charge of scheduling will know, okay, well, that's going to require this and this, and we got to know that the jib has to be set up over here and blah, blah, blah. So they'll know those things generally also. But when it comes to lighting and things like that, it's kind of it's usually my responsibility to go, okay, well, if we start here in the wide, that means that I have to, work whatever. I have to like light the whole scene. And then we can jump in and stay tight, and then everything can move in if it needs to, or move out, or whatever. And so that's kind of just the responsibility, is like it's just the I don't know, technical translator, but yeah, having a creative, being creative. It's just all problem solving at that point. So
Yeah.
It's like I have to have like a visual language, that I have to have like the vocabulary of the visual language to like know what works for certain things, so that we're just not wasting time trying stuff that isn't really right.
Yeah.
And like time is really the thing that is always the biggest variable, is like how much everything's possible if time doesn't exist. But once you add that variable into the equation, it changes everything. And
Right.
it's like, well, we could do that. We could do this in an hour if we have an hour. But
Is that why some productions are so expensive? Is because it's the time that it takes. So now you're paying people to stand around or do whatever their position is and accomplish these shots. I guess that would make sense to some degree.
Yeah,
There's a lot
like
of variables in there.
anything that has to be done twice or done again, like you take into account like the time that it takes to reset a camera at all. If we start on one end of a dolly track and end on the other end, well, every time that it goes from one end to the other, that whole move, whether it's 10 seconds or 20 seconds or whatever it is, that takes time. So that's a reset. So then every time the lens changes, that takes time. Every time the camera moves from a tripod to a shoulder to a gimbal to a whatever, all that stuff takes time. And then every time you adjust the lights, every time that takes time. And like, so all these things compound and add up, and you hope that there's somebody else that takes more time than you, so that you can get done before them and then be ready.
Right.
And so it's always a kind of a race to go, all right, well, what's going to be right now the thing that can take the least amount of time that gets us it's just a little bit of a game to play, where you're, okay, well, I'm going to, if we start in a tighter shot, that gives me more time to work, that gives our department more time to work out the set. So we'll stay here close up because we know we can jump into that quickly. It's not going to require a ton of whatever. And then by the time we're in our wide, art's now ready. And and by the way, the set across the way that we've had to do, that's already kind of halfway lit or something. And so those little things that's just all you have to think about. So
Wow.
by the time like the creativity happens, you just hope that all the stuff done in prep is like the thoughts, and those are the things you think about when you're like a day before or 2 days before or whatever it is. You have to prepare all that stuff so that on the day you can go, all right, well, what if we tried this shot instead?
Yeah.
What if all right, I know you wanted to do this, but what if we did this also if we have time? And it's always like this little game of like, let's add a thing or take away a thing, and you have to kind of know where the pieces fit so that you know if you can lose a piece.
Right. That's
It sounds so technical, everything. I think I'm understanding why you like to shoot with a point and shoot. Because it's like the opposite
It is
of
the
this.
exact opposite.
It's exact opposite of like what you're normally doing.
that and shooting by yourself and not talking to other people.
Yeah, it seems like you go like for your your personal creative, you're like you want to drop off all that technical right out of the window.
So much. But then there's it's so hard to not be pulled into the allure of like, well, what if I had,
Less control. Yeah, just having this, you have so much control on this end, and then this one is just like, let's see what'll happen.
Have you ever shot film with motion picture?
Yeah, I've shot. I've done so. In film school, that was kind of the requirement to shoot 16 millimeter. We shot everybody. It's like a literal course requirement was shooting what's called the block at the school I went to. It's called the block. It's like it's a 3 block thing. It's like a semester. I guess it's 2 semesters, but you do. I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna be bad on remembering this. I think you do like the first 2 in 1 semester, and then the last one you do post for a whole semester. So you basically get to edit your movie for the whole. You learn how to edit by editing your movie. So the first half of the semester is pre-pro, and the second half is production, and it's basically like a requirement to be on set with everybody, and everybody's shooting film. So we were shooting all on Canon Scoopix, which is like a news gathering camera from the 70s. Shoots regular 16, fixed lens, has a zoom lens, 16 mil. I have 2 of them now.
Oh wow.
They're
awesome.
Yeah, they're neat. I've been wanting to shoot. I haven't shot any of the ones I own, but it's a cool camera. It's just real simple. Holds in your hand, put it on your shoulder, put through the eyepiece. It's real simple. So we shot that, and then I was asked by a student a couple of years ago. I want to say everything's pre-pandemic at this point. I'm trying to think of when that actually was. It had to have been 2018 or 2019. A woman or a girl, I don't know, whatever she would have been at the time. Somebody I know, a girl that I knew, she was a PA on a job, and she was like, I don't know how, I'm trying to think of how she came about being on this job, but long story short, I kind of like talked her into going to my film school. I was like, you should check out this school if you're interested in like actually going to school for this stuff. It's the only one in the state that's worth talking about, and it's what I recommend. It's like all of the people here, pretty much everyone on the job went there, and still like in our industry, it seems to still be kind of like everyone went there.
Right.
You either went there or you worked on those jobs and met somebody, and then whatever.
What's the school?
Scottsdale Community College. Now it's called the Scottsdale School of Film and something or other. They changed the name of it sometime in there, but they made it sound fancier.
I went there when it was Scottsdale Community College.
Yeah, when it's the actual like film school for it, they've churched it up and made it sound all official now. I can't remember what their actual call it now. I think it's like film and performance or something like that. I can't remember, but so I convinced her to take this class and or to enroll, and I was like, if you enroll like on the low, I'll shoot your movie. Like I'm like, you probably have to have a student also shoot it, but like, don't tell them, and I'll shoot it. It'll be a blast because I want to shoot 16 again, and I want you to buy the film.
Yeah,
like you're gonna have to pay for this, so we might as well shoot 16. So I guess, of course, being like an actual decent person, she like asked her teacher, and they gave permission, so that she got like a whatever. So I was able to like shoot her block film, which was really neat, on a camera I was borrowing from my friend, which was an Arri SR3, which is like, I mean, that was like the camera for so long, like in the industry. 16 millimeter was like, it was kind of more known as like a high speed camera because it would shoot crazy high speed frame rates, but it's still, crystal sync, Super 16, everything that you'd want. And so we got to shoot that. I think we shot like 2 days on that, and that was just a blast. And it's one of those things I still have like a ton of 16 millimeter in my freezer, and I'm just waiting for the right opportunity to have somebody else pay to shoot it.
Yeah.
Because it's like you do pay by the foot, and it gets kind of expensive. Like
Absolutely.
it's I think it's like 30 cents a foot, or when it was like 30 some cents a foot, and like a foot goes fast.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's like a blink of an eye.
Yeah, like I think a 1,000-foot core, I think it's like 11 and a half minutes.
Oh wow.
So you're like, it's gonna cost me 300 something bucks just to see it
Jeez.
for 11 minutes. Like it's like,
Think of like the full cinematic like movies shot.
Yeah, you appreciate like.
oh yeah, I
what
just
kind of
saw
cost
I just
goes into
saw the new Wes Anderson movie. And that was
Oh,
all
Asteroid City?
shot
Was
on
that
film.
good?
Yeah, it was really good. It was super long, and all I could think of, like, well, not all I could think of, but at some point I thought, I was like, man, I just wonder how much this cost to just in film, just
Gobs,
in
Yeah.
film.
gobs of money.
Oh,
Yeah.
insane.
I can't even imagine. Or like the Christopher Nolan movie coming out is like 70 millimeter
Yeah,
IMAX or something
Oppenheimer.
like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh.
and those are like 3-minute rolls, and they're $1,000 a roll, and I'm just like, why? That's crazy.
Yeah, I've seen some clips online of him standing by the rolls, and I'm like, whoa.
It's so sick.
That's
and
intense.
it just like it kind of, I don't know, for me it's like I wish it was more commonplace that to do, but I'm so fortunate that digital is as good as it is, because I'm just not rich, and like
Yeah.
to be, I don't know, to do what we do, it there's such a barrier of entry for like every single step, and the fact that media and making things appear professional, and all it takes is a hard drive, is crazy and amazing.
Yeah.
But I also am like all those old dudes that like grew up shooting that stuff, and now they're like, the dudes because they did it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh man, this would have been cool. But also I know, like, put me back in the 80s, I probably still would have been, poor. I
Yeah.
would have been, like,
Yeah, I feel like that stuff was never really inexpensive.
no,
even if
it's never been cheap, but in comparison, there wasn't other options. So
Yeah.
I think the amount, like, it's the same, same with the supply and demand. Like, I think now it's just a thing where it's because there's only so many projects being shot on film. It is expensive, just to even get somebody the lab time to like process it. It is more expensive than it used to be in comparison, just because it's more niche.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we chatted about with on our previous podcast with Bill Manning was that motion picture film is actually becoming the new popular film to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that's because the film's actually cheaper to buy.
In bulk.
You buy it in bulk, and then you bulk load each one of these rolls. The challenge still being obviously the processing because of the remjet layer. But it'll be interesting to see a lot of people shifting over. If enough of the labs are able to actually start processing remjet film, we may see a slight price drop in film, because it'll be, competitive at that point with Kodak's costs on film. I mean, the roll of Portrait now, I don't even remember the last time I looked at the pricing.
lot.
It's like,
Well, and that's
$17,
color
$18
negative
maybe?
too. I think even now with like Ektachrome being back in motion picture, you can still shoot. I'm pretty sure it's the same processing as regular slide on those on that film stock. So, correct me if I'm wrong, please.
No, it
I
sounds
think
right.
I think you can still process like bulk loaded Ektachrome or any type of motion picture slide in regular.
it'd be E6 chemistry.
Yeah.
The
E6
is for slide film. And the difference, the ECN2, the chemistry that's used for motion picture, the crazy thing there is you tend to get a bit more dynamic range with your film. So you actually get a better balance. So because the whole thing there is that you're able to basically get a flat image and be able to then add your contrast and post, because that's what you do with motion picture. You have log, you record, and then you scan in log format and then you can manipulate it and adjust. But I'm curious to see how that continues. I've seen some people making processors, and the processors now are C41, as where you need ECN2 to process, and you can't just convert one of these machines over. You have to actually rebuild that. I don't know. I'm curious there.
Yeah, I love the idea of bulk. I have a few rolls that actually my friend Ryan, who let me borrow his camera for that shoot I was just explaining, he rolled a couple 35 millimeter, I don't remember what stock it was, like 5297 or whatever they're common, like 800 speed motion picture. I forget what it's actually called.
Is it 5219?
Yeah, probably.
I think that's the Vision 3 500 speed.
Vision 3 500T, and then there's I think 50D. I think he gave me also, which I can't remember that one is.
Yeah, I wish there was more variety in motion picture film, but
there used to be. Yeah, when we were shooting in film school, there was Fuji still made film.
Eterna.
Eterna. A friend of mine, he shot like a, I don't know. We had in our class, in our 16 millimeter class, we had to shoot like a roll, and it had to be real colorful and real whatever. And he shot these crazy. They looked so good. I remember being like, we all should have shot Fuji. I just remember being like, dude, you figured it out. He shot like some woman in a red dress dancing like on a black backdrop, and it just looked incredible. And I was like, all our stuff looks so bad. And I was like, that guy, he used Fujifilm. He figured it out. And in hindsight, it's like, he probably just lit it better than us and like actually shot it exposed correctly. Like we just did not, you don't know what you don't know.
There's a learning curve there.
We're trying to make we're trying to make a movie. So we're like on a stage or on a, in someone's house setting up scenes or whatever. He was just, this is someone dancing in a perfectly lit studio, and it looks great. And I was just like, dang, I should have done that.
Lighting's important. That's it's a whole philosophy with getting an image.
You can't have an image without the light.
Yeah, it took me a while to realize that, and I feel there's a lot of people out there that still shoot and don't really realize that it's just as important as it is. And the slight difference in light will change the mood of a shot.
Oh yeah,
just so much.
I remember when I was like shooting, when I was first learning how to use my first digital camera. I was shooting a lot with friends of mine out in the desert kind of thing, trying to take pictures of people or whatever, portraits. And I read somewhere that if you wore white, it would just, your shots would just be brighter. And I was like, I don't know why. That makes no sense to me. I didn't know. I couldn't think about, I just had no, foresight to what that meant. And one day I just like wore a white shirt and was like out shooting. And I was just like bouncing light. And all my shots just looked better. And I was just like, cool. So I'm just going to wear white when I go shoot portraits. Like, this makes sense. And then I go to film school, and that was like first rule. They were like, you don't wear anything but black. You only wear black when you're touching a camera. Don't wear anything but black because of reflection.
Because you affect the
God forbid
shot.
somebody will see you in a window. God forbid somebody will see
that makes sense.
Okay, so it's not just like a moody fashion choice.
No.
Okay. Good to know.
And it's funny because like I've been actively trying to not wear black for the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years, like since I've been taking myself more seriously as a cinematographer.
It must be challenging, especially when you're on set in the heat and you're like,
yeah, really, here in Arizona.
That's literally why I'm just like, you know what? If I am a problem, I will put something on. I will change my shirt if I am in a window. If my neutral colored shirt is casting on somebody, I'll change. But it hasn't been a problem so far. So
you just need a cloak.
Yeah. We had a kid. We had a kid when we were in school. He showed up in high-vis, and I thought that was so funny because we were like on stage, in a little set and everything, a bunch of hard lights with shafts of whatever. So anywhere that he would stand, he would bounce some sort of hard light all over the thing, and it was just like this orange high-vis. And we made like a Duvetine poncho for him. We took a big square piece of Duvetine, cut a hole, and just put it right over his head. It was like, because he was pushing the dolly the whole day, so it's he couldn't leave. He had to be near the camera.
Oh, jeez.
And he just wore this
Oh.
Duvetine poncho, and I still think about that all the time.
A weird choice.
Yeah.
Like he
It's-
obviously did not know.
No one. Yeah, he must have missed the first day,
It's a very important day.
the very first day where they tell you what to wear.
We had
Yeah.
that kind of with we have a photo booth, and we had a guy show up, and
Yeah, he
his
was-
photo just kept getting blown out, and we were like, "What is going on here? He's glowing."
Yeah.
Oh,
And
he was like wearing like
he was wearing
reflective.
this reflective shirt and for like jogging or something, but you couldn't really tell that
No,
that's what
yeah.
it was. Like
Yeah, it was
when
like
he
a
was
dressy
wearing it.
shirt too.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a dressy shirt, yeah. And it took a minute, and then I'm like looking closer at him and the fabric, and I'm like, oh, that's what's
And the challenge
happening.
too with that was he's a person of color, so
Oh, right. So
we're
just the
using
ratio.
this,
Shows,
So
yeah.
contrasted.
the like you couldn't we didn't have any sort of
Yeah.
scrim or light modifier in order to prevent the reflection on his shirt and then get him balanced properly. So and he had somebody with him too, so that was a nightmare.
Yeah, we're like, well, you're just an angel in this photo. So
You're going to be a little bit under on this other one, but I think we ended up getting a shot of them and it worked
yeah, we had to
out,
redo
but-
it. But yeah, that first one was
Yeah.
like, what do you wear? What? Oh,
Yeah, well,
and then
that's
you're like
funny.
realize you're like, oh man, even what someone's wearing, and then
Oh yeah.
even the background, like we discovered that we're like, oh, we got like this darker, moodier background, and it was just sucking up all the light, and like we weren't getting it. I'm like, nope, gotta go later.
So what's the most challenging production that you've been on that you would say?
I mean, anything that's like physically exhaustive, especially in Phoenix, is challenging. Like if the production is just not aware of what it takes to shoot outside 9 months out of our year,
Yeah.
that can be challenging. To that point, I did a feature. This was years ago. I key gripped a feature for it was an independent thing. We shot that in the I think the Dumont Sand Dunes somewhere. It was like between here and it was between like Vegas and LA, but kind of near Death Valley. I can't remember exactly which sand dune it was. And we pretty much wiped out everybody.
I bet.
Everybody that wasn't me. Pretty much everyone that wasn't from the desert. Everyone got heat exhaustion, and by the end of the day we were like there was like 3 people that were still like around. And I was just like, why are we still trying to shoot? The DP hadn't passed out, but of course the director, who was also the lead actress, she had passed out.
Oh man.
The producer had passed out. Like pretty much everyone that was in charge passed out except for the DP, and he was like, oh, I still want to keep shooting.
Jeez.
And we're like, okay. Thankfully the sun at this point had started going down, so like we got a little relief, but
Yeah.
it was like 106 or 110 that day, and just people don't know to drink water every 5 seconds or else you'll shrivel up.
Oh,
They
yeah.
don't know about the I didn't say it right.
Liquid.
No, just having salts in your body too.
Yeah,
Electrolytes.
Yeah,
yeah. So,
electrolytes.
so those are I guess those are the challenges. I feel like I've been working only with good people lately. So I have a lot less war stories that are like, we got peeled like this. It's usually somebody else's problem. It's always like my job could be easy as heck if I was just up to me. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, you
If
gotta
it
work
was-
with all these other folks.
yeah,
that makes sense.
Well, and yeah, you had to, in moving parts and things like people's availability, and we have to, redo a set because somebody, I don't know, like I'm trying to think of like, I don't know. I feel like I've managed to block those all out because I still have like a shiny, I don't know. I still have like some shiny idea of what the industry is, even though I realize exactly what it is. It's just a bunch of people that don't know what they're doing, trying to make stuff.
That's adulthood in general.
Yeah, right. It's just but it's like you take all the characters that in real life, and then you put them all in one room and go, all right, this is what we're gonna try to make.
Yeah.
And that can go any way it can go. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's like, wow, that dude who just couldn't be wrong is making us suffer because
Yeah.
somebody's ego is taking over.
That's
don't know.
hard. You're working with so many people. What's the industry like pre and post pandemic? How has it changed? Has it changed a lot? I'm assuming there was a lot of downtime there, but
Yeah, so in our market, that's the only way I know how to judge any of it because it's kind of where I've only been. I feel like the creative projects have been fewer than they used to be, at least with scale. I haven't really heard of any. I mean, I just don't know of anything that's been made that was like, oh, cool, wow, they did that. Those people went and did that. Where now it seems it's everything. I think for me, everything just got real like commercial, and like because of the pandemic, jobs kind of scaled to where there, you know, where we used to have a bunch of people doing a bunch of things. Now it's like, well, we can only have 15 people. So now we have 15 people and we're all doing the work of 30. And so those types of scales, I think, have still kind of lingered to where you kind of have to like remind people like, hey, this stuff this is supposed to be bigger. Like this, what you're trying to do, we might have done during COVID because we had to, but we weren't happy about it. And now we're trying to like unwind that thought of like, well, you can do this all by yourself.
You
right?
can get away with a lot less.
Yeah, you can do this all, you know, just you in a van, right? That's all you need. And it's like, and then you just I don't know. I think that's been the biggest difference has been just the idea that you can do as much as you. I don't know. That's a really hard question to answer because I think my career has changed a lot during that pandemic because I think there was just a lot of opportunity for people to work in Phoenix, especially because there was just a lot of there was a moment here where it was kind of the Wild West because we didn't have as much regulation as anywhere. We didn't have mask mandates as that I know of. We really didn't have any like laws that were instated that I could remember. So it was kind of up to the production to be safe. And so there was, you know, you had to gauge, are these people like, I don't know. I don't even know what the term would be like. Are they for COVID or are they against COVID or like,
do they care about us?
Do they care? Do they like what? So that was
know.
the only way to suss people out was just like, what's your protocol? Like, are we getting tested? Is anybody get like those kinds of thoughts happen. But there was a lot of that, like people, you know, the machine has to keep turning like this big ad machine that we're all perpetually connected to has to keep going unless we all stopped watching stuff on the internet really is the answer. And so those like, and I did like a laptop commercial for Lenovo during the pandemic that was like on the low. We weren't all supposed to be like a couple people told me not to like tag them online because they were just like their agent. They didn't want their agent knowing that they were like working because you know, things like that. Like there was a lot of opportunity for that where there was just it was kind of a good time to be a guy with a company making stuff in Phoenix. I think on the commercial side. So pre to post, I don't know. It's hard to judge because I felt like I was doing a lot more art stuff, and I felt like I was more connected to the actual community making films in Phoenix, and then that slowly slipped away from my grasp to where I don't even really know people making art like for themselves at all. I mean, I think it's just become a thing where I don't know. I don't know. I feel like to me, maybe it's just my position in the industry. It's like, I'm still looking for that again. Like I want to be pulled onto a feature and do something for 6 weeks and like, you know, money's whatever. Like,
yeah. What's your ideal project? Like what would be your dream project to do?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's just more experience things. Like I like to shoot. I want to learn more. I want to like grow. And there's this expression that like I guess my mom said it a bunch over the years, but it's if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
That's a good one. Yeah.
And too often on a lot of these commercial jobs, I feel like I'm the one that has to be this, like, you know, not to say anything about local crew, because everyone that I work with in town everyone's so good, but I'll get a, production from wherever, and I'll have to help them kind of like figure out the stuff, and I'm just like, man, I really want to like be learning, because I'm
Yeah.
having to like show this person this very kind of, I feel, basic thing, and I'm like, I just want to make movies, and like I want to be the one that's like, what are we doing? I don't know how to do that. I want to learn more.
Yeah.
that makes
And so
sense.
I guess that like that thought that pushes me forward is like, I want to just make things that I haven't made. I want to go places I haven't been. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I'm always interested in finding something new. That's been the big thing for me with film photography is, what's this gadget do? What was this used for? Why is this the way it is? And that drive to learn something new it feels so good to learn something.
Yeah.
Is more rewarding than money in a lot of cases.
Oh yeah.
Although money helps.
Yeah. No, that's the first thing. Like, money is the thing that, if you're fortunate to get that sorted, and I feel right now in a position where I feel fortunate. Like I have saved finally for the first time in my life. I started saving like 2 years ago. And I finally did that, and I feel like I have at least a buffer that like allows me to take risks again, where it feels, when I was starting out, it was everything was risk. As I was broke, it was like, oh, I'm either going to work on this no budget movie and spend 6 weeks in Kingman in a motel and like do this thing and, make something interesting with these people, or I'm going to not, or I'm going to work at Best Buy. Like, it was
Right.
the two options were like,
Yeah.
I'm either minimum wage, and I have a guy that sucks telling me what to do, or it's minimum wage and we're making art and it's kind of neat, and I'm like not at home. And those, every day of the week I'll take the latter.
Yeah.
But now I'm like in a position where, I feel like my time has a value, because, it's like, you only have so much of it. So to me, I'm like, I feel like I'm in a position now where I'm like, I want to take those risks again. If only, I want to do that more. Just cause I have a business that kind of does its thing. I've been able to figure out in some way how to at least give people responsibility, to take some responsibility out of my lap when it comes to that kind of thing. So, the next, what I want to be shooting is, I don't know, whatever. It's something people will see and not change immediately. Because most of the stuff I've worked on in the last decade has been like literally commercials, literally ads for things, or ads for places, or some type of promotional something. Something is selling something to somebody. I know everything is selling somebody something always, but
Yeah.
it's way more obvious when you're like, you were signing an NDA and you have, all these restrictions of the thing that you have to do, and it's, your hands are tied to that specific idea because somebody at an agency thought it was a good idea to copy a Twix commercial from 4 years ago. And you're like, sick. I'm glad that our visual reference is exactly frame by frame something else somebody else made. Like,
Way to suck the fun out of that.
yeah. So, in some way it's good to be like, if anything, I feel the most, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm pretty good at adapting to like, the challenge, because of that kind of thought of like, we want to do this. And it's like, do you want to do exactly that? Or do you want to do something kind of like that? And they're like, no, exactly that. Okay. All right. That's exactly what we're doing. Cool.
Do you think the industry is going to change here in Arizona? I know that with people coming from California is probably a factor, but also the tax laws and movie laws are changing, or at least I've seen some info on that.
I don't know enough about that stuff I don't know. I'm not that smart, first of all, to know what could happen with our industry. I know when we had an incentive prior to, I think it was like 2008 or 2009, when we didn't have one anymore. I think for the few years that we did, there was a couple big things that happened. So that could be really good for, I think, like the crew base that we have in town. Cause there's a couple hundred of us, I think, I don't know, maybe thousands. I don't even know. People that like make a living freelancing and working on these jobs when they show up. And the thing for me is like, I want work to originate from Arizona or from Phoenix. I want the people that are making these things to make things. So I don't know how that will happen or if that will happen. So until then, the incentive, I think, with showing up, if there's a show or something, if we get like a Breaking Bad or something like that,
That'd be awesome.
it would be incredible for the people on it.
Yeah.
And it would be great for anybody that could benefit from it, day playing, whether it's, you know, filling in for somebody that can't do a stint of it or whatever and learning those things.
Yeah.
But I think in general, if there is anything like that, it would just be good for our community, because I don't know, stability is just like nothing we have. There is nothing that's constant but change here, and that's every job is a little different. Sometimes you're working with your friends, sometimes you're working with people you don't know, sometimes everything is always so different. So some sort of stability or the idea that you would know a couple weeks in advance would be good.
Yeah.
Because you know, we don't really have a lot of that benefit. It's just things happen and you find out about it a couple days or a week maybe, or 2 weeks maybe. But to know that, in June you're going to be shooting 3 months of something, like that'd be cool.
That would be awesome.
Hopefully it's not in June, but
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
It's all indoors or at night.
Yeah, right, exactly. But,
More of a January, March
or
thing.
in the big studios. And I think that's like part of the provisions in the incentive is a lot of infrastructure bills. So that's kind of where I get, that's kind of where I get lost in it too, is just like when the incentive incentivizes people to like build things, then, you know, buildings don't exist just for projects. Like if somebody's getting a kickback to build a studio and all they build is a big warehouse and put a sticker on the side that says studio, and then our taxpayers pay them for that and they make something in there or whatever. Well, once that thing is gone, that guy still has that money.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So do I necessarily agree with that being like a big part of the incentive? I don't know. I don't know how that all lays out. I don't know what the requirements are necessarily, but that's I've always said that has been my big concern, is there's just the blurred lines of where the shady accounting kind of comes in play. Cause that's kind of what was our downfall for the last incentive, was people in our local industry kind of making, you know, decisions that might not necessarily be up to par with what they wanted. And then that that reflects poorly in, you know, when it comes up to vote again on it.
Right.
It's like, well, these guys were stealing from the thing or whatever it was.
Right.
I don't want to speak completely out of turn, but from what I remember hearing, it was like, there was like a tax credit and you could apply it to said company, but then you could also like sell that tax credit to somebody else. So I think somebody involved in handing those credits out was doing something nefarious, and that kind of just, you know, any type of bureaucracy, like corruption is, you know, right around the corner, and politics and all that stuff. I'm optimistically excited about the future of what we have going on, but, you know, I'm not gonna hold my breath.
Yeah.
I've been promised to go to this water park for the last 10 years, so, you know, one more weekend won't hurt. I'm not gonna.
Yep. Yeah. Politics ruin everything.
Yeah.
They really do.
Do you think you'd ever leave Arizona?
Yeah. I'm hoping
That was a fast yeah.
you know, I'm a lot more hesitant. I would have been a lot more hesitant until I've had a lot more like reflective thought about just like what our community is and what I am to the community and what the community is. I don't know, all those things. And it's like, for me, I feel like there's something missing, and I don't know if it's something I have to create to keep, or I have to find, or whatever. But I don't know. it would take the right thing for me to leave for sure. Obviously, nothing could keep me from coming back, but
Right.
it would be the right opportunities to just like at least spend more time somewhere else, doing something somewhere else for a long enough stint that it makes sense economically for me to move stuff.
Right.
But until then, this is what I know. It's home. Everyone I know is here.
Yeah.
Had a ton of people moved to LA, a ton of people moved to New York, and it's just waiting for one of them to do their thing big, and then give me a call. I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the call. But it's one of those things. It's just like it's hot so much here that like
Yeah,
I just
Arizona's tough.
it's just on paper it's like our industry it does really well with what it's doing and what it's been doing, which is like short form stuff and like projects that last less than a week, because it's easier to schedule a good solid week of good weather
Right.
here. But yeah, as far as moving or anything like that, it's just everything's subject to change. I don't know. I could be convinced otherwise in every direction.
Yeah.
I'm not structured to anything really, except for having whatever my shop, I guess. But
Yeah. Fair enough.
What's the name of your company?
my company's name is Thunder Grip and Electric.
Okay. Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, we started. I started 2012, officially incorporated in 2012.
Awesome. And you're still going.
Still going,
Still
yeah.
going, that's
Somehow, somehow.
Yeah.
No, it's good. It keeps me busy. I mean, it literally, it's a perfect thing for me to, it's like a merge of all my interests.
Yeah.
I like owning gear. I like having the tools that I need to make things. I like making money off those things.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all it is.
You get it done.
Yeah, it's I like the challenge of the thing that I don't like necessarily right away is there is a lot changing in the lighting world that is just it's getting more expensive to keep up, and I'm not like touching the gear every day like I used to, so it's harder for me to like kind of trust or know that that's the right thing to have based on what people are asking for. It's like, do I buy the thing that's brand new that everyone wants, or do I buy the or is there something better that's like more akin to what I should be having or whatever? And that's just like business stuff that's hard to figure out.
Yeah.
But
It makes sense. You gotta,
I like having grip trucks. I like having lights and stands and flags and all the stuff that you need to make stuff. And it's cool that like stills stuff isn't really, I mean, to do like an elaborate stills job, like I have way more than anything anyone's ever needed. I've done
imagine.
I've done some like, it's cool. I love the freedom that like stills photographers get with like being able to use like a one big strobe. Just give me
boom, tons of light.
Done.
F16. Heck yeah.
It's a little easier to edit those photos too, rather than
Yeah.
motion picture.
Oh yeah, it's cool. So yeah, like those types of things. I mean, I don't know. I'm never gonna get rid of my stuff. It's just whether or not it's still useful in the next, however long. So yeah, and then weighing the what am I reinvesting or what am I investing in? Am I going and buying all the brand new LED stuff, even though it's every 6 months changing and there's a new thing that
Right.
you have to have, or is it let's wait. Let's wait till all these things are ironed out and like let somebody else buy that stuff. I'm good with
Yeah.
having just grip stuff even now. If that was what it was, if it had to just be grip only and it just became camera support and shaping light and stuff like that, as long as it keeps as long as it continually keeps going, it's
Right.
fine.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on AI?
I don't have any thoughts on it.
None?
I don't know
Doesn't
enough
exist.
about it. I
Fair
mean,
enough.
it's cool. I don't know enough about it. I think like the like machine learning, I think the thought about how machine learning can be implemented, I think that being kind of part of the like public consciousness is neat for everything, also terrifying for everything, because it's just like, well, what can't it learn? You know,
True.
How can it not just like read my emails and know exactly who I am based on how I you know, what,
Oh, yeah.
what's the point, you know? But I don't know, like there's nothing I do on set or in my work that a computer could do. Cause I don't really use a computer at all.
Right.
Like on the, you know, while we're there, the computer's not going to move my camera. It's
Right.
not going to,
Yeah.
I suppose you could use AI for helping with translating things potentially down the road once it advances enough. You can look at a shot and then have it do all the calculation.
Yeah, that's a good point. That would be really neat if it could do, like the photometric side of things, like figure out that, I don't know, you know, it'd be really advanced to learn, like, well, that window looks like it's 50 feet away, and there, you know, we can tell based on the difference of, you know, one side of the frame to the other side of the frame that it, based on the square inverse law, that it's, you know, 100 yards away, 50 feet, like, who knows?
Yeah.
If it could figure that stuff out, awesome. I
Yeah.
will pay whatever it takes for it to do that job for me. But,
Yep.
you know, that stuff's so niche that like somebody would have to figure out how to make their job not exist to make that thing.
Right. Exactly.
And so I don't know, that's kind of the thing where I'm like, I don't know, the production world, what I fear more than anything is just the taste of the general public will just become so like saturated by bad content and bad quality things that it won't become there won't be a gain by trying.
right.
It will be just as cost effective for you to make a film that looks like a TikTok video because it's, you know,
It's already in that
Yeah.
medium.
it's already, like,
Kind of like music with like auto tune. It's like,
and that's the hardest thing is like, I think that's where anybody would argue is like you know, there's still going to be an audience for good stuff, good, good art or whatever. But
yeah.
you know, you see you see children like zoned out watching unboxing videos,
yeah, they're like
And you-
fascinated by it.
and you're just
Yeah.
like, their whole brain that's just what that is. Where for me, I was Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I sat on the floor of my grandparents' house watching Indiana Jones on like a 5-inch monitor that my grandpa had for installing televisions,
Yep.
and watched, you know, like those movies. And so, you know, what my taste is I want to watch that. I want to watch Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like what's going to be the thing when you're,
Yeah, it's curious. What are those kids that are so into that kind of stuff? Like, what are they going to make in the future? Like, if that's what, like,
or what are they going to
captivates them.
want to sit? Will they be able to sit for an hour and a
Yeah,
half?
seriously.
Can they
remember-
sit for
Can
an
they?
hour?
My nephew for a while was watching these videos of the I forget his name, but he would play with toys. He'd unbox the toy and then he'd play with it.
Some other
And-
kid playing with a toy. That's so strange.
And
so
I'm like,
strange.
we're training these kids to live vicariously through like this other kid who's making millions of dollars.
Yeah,
And I'm just like,
that's something you'll never have, but you can watch this kid
and
do it.
like being obsessed
This is
with
the
it.
place that you can't ever go, but you can watch it.
I mean, it's just funny
very
because like,
strange.
you know,
I had my versions of that as a kid though too. You know,
Yeah.
I think we all kind of did. Like there was
Yeah.
something that some neighbor kid had that we didn't. That was just like, dang, I want to go to that kid's house and watch him play Sega.
true.
You
get, a
know,
little,
like-
get a little taste of it.
yeah, I'm gonna,
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe back then if there was a
little bit.
YouTube channel of someone playing Sonic, I might have watched it, but I don't know. Like,
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to see how movie motion picture changes with AI, and hopefully it moves in a way that it makes it a little easier, more attainable for everyone. And the
Yeah.
people who are in the industry like yourself become a little more, I guess, efficient in your own job.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
just
if it can
a
take
helper,
the
you know?
take the heavy lifting from the planning of things, like for me with my business especially, I get a lot of requests from people from out of town, and every city, every market, everywhere in the world has a different name for everything. You know, they might have the brand name specific, but if it's older than them or their generation or whatever, they call it something different. And so even just having an app or a plugin or something that could like
Translate.
what, when someone asks for a quacker, I know what they're asking for because I've known what it is, but is it a duckbill? Is it a beadboard holder? Is it a platypus? Like, it's all those things. But if anyone asked anybody for any of those things, like, you'd have to know exactly what that there's a bunch of them. I mean, I wish I remembered all of it. Wish I remembered a few of them at least, but I've been asked for, like, give me a, I don't even know. I had a movie I was doing in LA a long time ago. And then the DP is a project I gaffed for, and the gaffer kept asking for a Charlie bar. I didn't know what that was, and it was just that it's a thing. It has I don't know where its origins come from. I don't know really what it is. I had him explain to me what it was, and then I learned later that was not the thing he was calling. It was just something wrong. So, like all those little things, that would be cool for an AI to go, oh, did you mean? Like if I could just have Clippy like in my ear, like if he could just show up and like, did you mean?
Translate this.
Did you mean this? Like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. No, it's the future. We'll fix all these problems.
We'll find out. We have no choice, so we'll find out.
I think being able to like literally translate would just be so. I mean, I know that exists now, but in real time to be in Japan and like work with a Japanese crew and just be able to like.
It's getting better and better. But exactly to my point. There's a guy that I worked with. He has this really funny anecdote about working in China. And he was shooting on a barge, and he's shooting on this big moving boat. And they're like, he asked his gaffer like, "Well, how do you think we should light this next scene or whatever?" And his Chinese gaffer is like, "We should just use a big ball." He's like, "A big ball? Like, what is that? What do you mean?" He's like, a big ball. And he like goes into his truck or whatever he does and pulls out like a big China ball.
Oh, wow.
Like a big paper lantern. But of course, he's not going to call it a China ball.
Yeah. True.
It's just the big ball to him.
Yeah.
It's just a ball. It's just a big ball. So like, yeah, something like that would be, I think as far as AI would, or to just be able to pull up visual references, like just so fast, be like, yeah, like that one scene from X, Y, and Z. Remember that one time whatever. Here it is. Like, let me just. I mean, I guess you can do that now, but it would take you a minute.
Yeah,
it would take you. True. It would take you a couple minutes, but I don't know. Those types of things would be really, really neat. But I think like I don't know. There's not a lot of replacement for like what I do. I can't think of a way it would be. If I could automate it, it would be easier, except for the like clerical type stuff. Like every time you work with a new production, you have to fill out their deal memo and their whatever.
Yeah.
You have to sometimes be like onboarded into their like company's HR and be given a whatever. Like I still get like letters from Viacom because I did something with MTV like 8 years ago. And I'll still get like some sort of like health insurance card from Viacom that they want me to like pay their health. I'm like, I don't work for Viacom. Like, so just those types of things, like having something to make those days easier, or fill out this invoice. Cool. Push a button. Great. I'd love that, but
the AI's got to figure out fingers first.
Yeah.
As far as image making goes, I've seen some really neat things with people doing like set extensions and stuff like that with AI. Of course, there's the like virtual set stuff, which is really neat. People doing with big LED walls and Unreal Engine and all that stuff. And now they're using like AI to generate plates and stuff like that, which is really neat. But
yeah, I just watched that on Instagram the other day. They were going over that and being able to like switch from a night scene in a car to a day scene and be able to just shoot, and you don't have to reset the scene as though you would in real life. You have this virtual screen behind you, and it's just insane.
Yeah.
Things like that, I guess. But
yeah, I'm interested to know if there's going to be like some resurgence for doing it the right or the old way or the right way, like there has been with things like miniatures and stuff like that. Like
that's coming back around, right? Like because people are starting to like get
people are starting to recognize just like what the actual difference is like to the project. So I mean, I don't know. maybe that's where I'll finally break through, is when I get replaced by a robot, and then I don't work in our industry for 50 years. And then when I'm 85, someone's like, hey, do you still remember how to shoot? Like, oh yeah.
It's like those old movies when they pull in somebody.
Yeah,
from,
like-
you know.
They pull the old guys. You're the old guy going to the moon.
Yeah.
You're the only guy that knows
I'm-
the technology.
I'm Bruce
of the,
Willis.
Yeah.
They have to teach me how to drill, or they have to teach me how to be an astronaut.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can go drill. No, that's exactly what I mean. I don't know. There's something about that too. That'd be cool, but
Yeah.
you know, if that's what has to be, I guess I won't stop shooting though. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
But if it means coming back to being a thing again, then whatever. But I don't know. I don't know. The AI stuff, there's so much like fear based around everything. Like, they're going to take our jobs, they're going to whatever. But I don't know. As long as people just like make art, and if it makes people that aren't elite make art and eventually get money to make stuff good, then it's the best thing in the world. If it pulls somebody like me out of middle class and gives somebody the opportunity to have like a budget for a thing, and then they get to go make their thing, then, you know, if you can make like I don't know, if you can use AI tools to make like a really good animated film that you could then use for shot by shot storyboards for a good movie, then that'd be huge. But if it just makes a bunch of weird, like, you know, stuff that is just never gonna, then it's like, I don't care, you know?
Yeah. I could see it helping with a lot of different things, but
Yeah. I think the thing that's the only thing that scares me about AI is just like how it could easily rewrite history in so many ways, where it's just like, was somebody actually there and taking that photo, or did you just generate this image? And I've seen that with like short form documentary stuff that I've seen on YouTube, people using AI generated things for B-roll, and I'm like, wait, how did they get that shot? And then I look a little closer, and I'm like, oh yeah, everyone's got 6 fingers.
yeah.
These
Fingers are giving it away.
that didn't
Why
exist.
doesn't it understand the hands? Like, why is
why-
the hands?
I don't know.
I don't know why. That's like the thing
Well,
that it can't figure out.
That's the hard thing
A
to
lot of
draw
artists
too.
can't figure out. Yeah, I was going
It
to
is
say,
like,
like
yeah.
regular artists can't figure out. Hands are like a big tell on someone that's like truly
Yeah.
proficient.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot to say about people's hands. Like, it's their whole life just explained by, you know.
Yeah.
Like, you look at my hands compared to somebody else's, you're like, oh, that, you can tell, you know. Like, I think I do stuff. Like,
My hands look like this, so
yeah. Therefore, you know.
AI's hands could look like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
I don't know. What do you guys think? What are your thoughts on it?
I think there's a lot of potential, just like you know, the internet becoming a commonplace thing. I mean, before the internet, it was, you know, things were different. But like the advent of technology, just like the industrial era, where you're using all these machines instead of labor. Well, you still need people to make the machines. You still need people to do these different things. The type of work that you do will change over time, and it'll be something different. And you know, data entry is handled differently way back then than it is now, and things will be automated. You're still gonna, you know, just like you said before, that wheel's still got to turn. You know, everybody's got to find some place in it, and it's just going to continue to change. I mean, everything is going to continue to change. As far as photography is concerned, I think you know, people will still want to continue to shoot film. There's people out there that are, you know, very adamant about, you know, continuing to pursue this process. And then you'll have other people who follow a trend and move away from that because, you know, it's expensive. But
Or it's just hard.
yeah, I mean,
Like,
well, conceptualizing something,
Yeah.
you could go, you know, instead of shooting this roll of film and like trying to accomplish something, you could still shoot this, do this process, but everything else that you do in order to accomplish the shot, you utilize AI in order to create this thing. So you're still actively shooting this image, but you're using AI to do all these other things behind the scenes, like maybe figuring out lighting or, figuring out how to, accomplish the shot in some other manner. But I think there's some benefits to AI.
I'd wonder about like the feedback loop of relying too heavily on AI, because like once things like that get made, then it gets fed back into it,
Right.
because it's like it's learning from itself, or it's learning from things that people make. So once people stop making things organically,
Yeah.
Right.
It's just
what's it
be
gonna
itself,
base?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's it gonna be based off of?
Yeah, which is really scary because it's going to lose, like, there's going to be so much AI in so many different fields that you're going to lose the human part of it.
Until
Which is a little
it-
scary
it's-
because that's
yeah.
the spice of life, is all these weird different people that exist. And it's just like, you're going to end up with this very singular person
Maybe,
thing
yeah.
that's going to happen, it seems like, but it's so hard to tell. It's so early.
Yeah,
So it's like, it's like,
yeah.
where will it go? It's like the internet is like obviously amazing, but now we're realizing social media, big mistake, like for all kinds of reasons, it's like you have all these things that can, it's
You
just
could
kinda
be a
crazy.
content creator for not for the masses, but instead you create real content for computers to learn. You could have a position where you're actually, it's just like people
No.
were saying, like computers are making like art and music and stuff like that, and we're all working day jobs.
Yeah.
So
Ugh.
I
It's
could
the
see us
opposite
creating
of what I
art.
was promised.
Yeah, you creating art for computers to like learn. So
Yeah, computers were supposed to be doing my day job.
I just hope that humanity acknowledges the difference. I feel like there's still something that we can tell. I've been tricked a few times, but only because I was like, which of these leopards is real? And it's
Yeah, that uncanny
Yeah.
valley thing still exists, but it's
Yeah.
getting harder.
It's getting harder to tell, especially with how much Photoshop exists already in regular images and
Yeah.
how much editing already goes into it. That's the thing I was gonna jump in on, was if AI can figure out like color correction to be better, have it. Like, sorry every colorist, sorry every person that does that type of thing, but like that's what I hate doing. So
Yeah.
if I could just go, well, I'm gonna shoot on this camera and I want it to look like I shot it, whether it's, I want to look like it matches this other shot or whatever, then yeah, that's great. I'd love that. But
yeah.
and I'm sure
definitely-
I'm sure that already exists. I just haven't even been
Yeah, I've seen
paying
some stuff on that, and I think there's a lot of potential for that into the future. And I mean, we were talking with Dave Dupree. He was making dye transfer plates in order to create ads. So you would do this process where you would do all these separations, and then you would bring it all together, and it would create a color ad.
That's cool.
That was produced in like a magazine.
He was doing manual Photoshop.
And so like, that
That's
job doesn't
sick.
exist anymore.
No,
Yeah.
But the job that exists instead is creating the software or continuing to improve upon the software in Photoshop so you can continue to use that program, and Photoshop continues to make money. I think the challenge there with AI is that obviously it's easier to get money from tons of people at a small amount versus large amounts of money. So I think AI is going to continue to grow, and there's going to be like, I guess, laws that really need to be written that limit some aspects of it, because there's people that are just going to exploit it to a degree that's just crazy. Which, I mean, there's competition there. You're competing with the computer now.
Yeah.
It's interesting to think about like what it would take to code something, because like what you're saying, like maintaining the program for Photoshop, like once the people that originally created the source code generationally are not around or just don't work there anymore or something, and now it's built on the back of a AI or a computer that knows it better than anyone could ever know it,
Right.
then it's like you tell it what you want to do and then just like hope it listens. And like I feel like what you're talking about, where this technology of the dye transfer, that's a thing where this is probably one of the few people still that
True.
he's doing it as a hobby, right? Like, but people did that as a career. And so until those, you know, if for some reason we needed that to exist again in full fledged, like how many people are going to relearn how to do that? So when it comes to software, like I don't know, this is getting kind of sci-fi to some extent, but it's like, where does the computer stop being, you know, if it learns all that we know and then expands upon that at the rate that it is with everything else, it won't be long until nobody knows how to fix, you know, anything, because it'll just be,
They have all the knowledge.
it knows how to do it, or it doesn't at all. And then
It's Terminator. They're
so-
going to realize that we're useless. They're gonna turn and be like, we don't need you.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, like, without us, it won't have a purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
So you know, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, you know, I don't think anything's going to stop AI from continuing.
No.
I think
No.
it's
No, I
something
think-
that has so much potential that you can't just cut it off.
I think the same way that, like, people looked at Uber or looked at Airbnb as this new lens to take all the things that exist and put it through this lens of, like, what if I could do that? Like, what if I, you know, for instance, like, taxis don't exist as much because Uber, what if we commoditized everything and made it so that individual people can do it? Because people were taking literally everything now. You can rent swimming pools by the hour
Saw
through
that.
some app because because somebody thought, well, that didn't exist, let me just do that. Every idea that a machine could learn how to do, somebody out there is going to make it do it. So, like, because that infrastructure now is proven to work, and it seems scalable to some extent, to, like, have one program teach the other, like, the people are using multiple different things at one point. It, you know, that's where the future for me, it seems interesting, is it's like, what can't you teach it?
True. It's, I don't know, just a matter of time before.
Well, you just anything repeatable, it should be able to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The future.
I, for one, am okay with the robots. They can take over. I'm all right with it. I want to stay on their good side. So I want to say nice things about them now so that, like, later on they remember. So they're going to go back in these podcasts and they're going to be like, who is okay with
They
this?
scrub the podcast.
Yeah.
Be like,
they do
you
their-
guys, you guys are totally cool. I like you a lot.
There's
Don't
there's a
kill
new
me.
blacklist for everyone that's been
Yeah,
against
be careful
it.
what you say
Yeah.
because it's gonna be on the internet.
Yeah, you never know. Well, I can't think of anything else, can you?
No,
Yeah,
but
we hit it with the atom bomb of topics.
Yeah.
no, which is awesome. So it was really good, you know, learning about your life and who you are and what you do, which is awesome. Could you, like, let us know what your socials are and your company is again? And all
Yeah,
that?
my social security, it's 600. My social media is right now, my Instagram's thunder_DOP. And my business name is Thunder Grip. And that's our website as well as thundergrip.com.
All right, perfect.
Cool.
And we are in Phoenix, and we have grip trucks, and we have lights and stands and stuff for production, stuff for, you know, we could do still stuff too. We have partners that have, you know, strobes and things like that for the bigger, like, commercial type stuff. But yeah, we specialize in motion picture lighting and rigging and anything. We're pretty much anything. If you can't figure out how to do it, there's somebody we know can figure out how to make it work.
Awesome.
Figure out how to do it.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Alexander, for joining us on our podcast today. We appreciate it. We hope you can get out and shoot some more films soon. And we look forward to chatting with you again. Thank you.
Thank you.